What's up, y'all? Welcome to Gameonysus Weekly, Episode 2. This is your one-stop shop for video game news. I am your host, Janet Garcia, and I am digging into the biggest news stories so y'all don't have to. We're doing quick hits, giving a little bit of context, giving a little bit of opinion, and keeping it moving. A whole bunch of news dropped this week, namely a lot in the way of games that are in development, that you can look forward to, that are coming out, and also some stuff on games that were already developed that are having a little bit of a rough go. Yes, Cyberpunk, but also Indiana Jones is going to be a thing. Star Wars from Ubisoft is going to be a thing. We have updates on the Twitch PogChamp situation, that and a whole lot more, so let's get into it. As far as the Indiana Jones game, Bethesda tweeted out a small video clip and then replied to that clip saying, "A new Indiana Jones game with an original story is in development from our studio, Machine Games, and will be executive produced by Todd Howard in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. It'll be sometime before we have more to reveal, but we're very excited to share today's news." I personally don't have a stake in this. I am not an Indiana Jones person. A lot of people are saying this is like a dream mashup come true. It's going to be so good. And I don't really have any vested interest in this. I am looking forward to see what comes out of it, to see Todd Howard working on something different. And I will say, as someone that is not a big fan of Uncharted and was always told that Uncharted is Indiana Jones, I posted out and said, hey, if I don't like Uncharted, which is basically Indiana Jones, does that mean I won't like this game? And a lot of people told me no, saying that Indiana Jones actually isn't like Uncharted, which I feel like was sort of weird because everyone literally told me the opposite for years. So we'll have to see in what ways they approach this, what kind of style it's going to be in. Other new games from existing IPs, from very defined IPs. We got Star Wars, more Star Wars Forever. Ubisoft is making a Star Wars game. Written over at Wired by Eric Ravenscraft. We got some additional details on the little that we do know about this game. So Julian Golightly, director of Division 2 and the crew, will serve as the game's creative director, and the title will use massive Snowdrop engine. Beyond that, Lucasfilm Games hasn't revealed anything about the characters or settings within the Star Wars universe that the game will feature. So this is another case of us having to wait and see what this is actually about, but we just have like the beginning info on it. One thing that did come up with this is, hey, EA and Star Wars, that's over, which is why this can exist. However, that doesn't mean that it's actually over. It just means the exclusive rights have come to an end, and now other places can take a crack at Star Wars from a video game perspective. But just to add some clarification, EA actually followed this news with a tweet saying, "We love Star Wars. We look forward to continuing our partnership with Lucasfilm Games. We're making more Star Wars games. BD1 is still the cutest." So reassuring fans that they can see more from EA when it comes to Star Wars. One interesting thing about looking at this is so many people were really excited about EA not having Star Wars anymore and the idea of a game made by anyone other than EA, just because EA gets a lot of hate. To some degree warranted. I think they have made some decisions with their IPs in terms of how they monetize it that can be looked at as nefarious from like a business standpoint and from like a consumer standpoint. So I get that. But personally, I don't have strong negative feelings against EA. We do know that this Ubisoft Star Wars game will be open world. Ubisoft open world paints a very specific picture. I'm not sure if I'll be into it. I kind of am hit or miss on Ubisoft open world games. Sometimes I can enjoy them, but I think there are definitely layers of it that I find frustrating, so we'll just see how this shakes out, but I'm very curious to see what they do with the IP. And now for games that have already come out but are still working on existing out into the world, we got Cyberpunk. So much Cyberpunk news. I don't know when we'll go without having Cyberpunk news. I think it's going to be some time. So many things came out of this week. The first thing that sticks out to me is the news that Cyberpunk may be facing a big fine following Polish consumer protection investigation into Cyberpunk 2077. This is written by Sharif Said, over at VG247, and essentially, Poland's Office of Competition and Consumer Protection is monitoring the situation over at CD Projekt, essentially looking into what went down, how this happened, who's responsible, and also will it be remedied in a timely fashion, and they'll be checking in on the progress of those promised patches. Here is a Google translated quote from UOKIK. This was originally published, I believe, by Gaming Route, as sourced by VG247, and the statement is as follows. "We will check how the manufacturer is working on introducing corrections or solving difficulties that prevent the game from playing on different consoles, but also how it intends to act in relation to people who have complained and are dissatisfied with the purchase due to the inability to play the game on their equipment despite the manufacturer's previous assurances. And if CDPR fails to satisfy this requirement, the developer may be fined up to 10% of its annual revenue. They're under a lot of scrutiny, and rightfully so. This week, they also issued a statement sort of owning up to the situation and talking about how they're going to move forward, which a lot of people were not a big fan of. They did take some time to say, please don't blame the team, like this is totally on leadership, but they also threw a little bit of shade at QA, saying that a lot of the problems that came up were ones they hadn't seen before or been made aware of. It's pretty known that a lot of times when people get a product, in this case a video game, and there are issues, oftentimes QA folks will say it's not because they weren't aware of that, it's because we showed them and they refused to fix it, or thought it wasn't going to be a big deal, or thought it wasn't worth fixing given the time it takes or whatever, then not enough players will encounter it, so it won't matter. So for them to make kind of a statement that's like, don't blame our team, but also let me hint at the ways QA may have failed, especially with QA being like a super underpaid part of the industry, a lot of people did not vibe with that. Related to this, they do have an updates roadmap where they have the release, they have a bunch of hot fixes they did, they have our year, 2021, patch 1.1, patch 1.2, then there'll be updates and improvements in terms of free DLCs and the free next-gen console update, and then it's 2022. So those things were kind of pushed months back from where they were expected to be. I have no confidence that they will actually hit any of this. I don't know that we'll see the DLC and next-gen updates by 2022 or before 2022. I don't even know if they know how much work is ahead of them. I'm not even sure if it's possible to know how much work is ahead of them given the current state of the game. So you have all of this going down, and then Jason Schreier drops Inside Cyberpunk 2077's disastrous rollout over at Bloomberg. Great read. I highly recommend everyone go take a look at it. It's linked in the description. I think some of the most notable takeaways from this was the fact that most of the development team didn't think that it would come out in 2020, like it didn't seem possible, and they stated that they imagined it'd be a 2022 release, which oddly enough is kind of related to that calendar they just showed where they're like, by 2022 it should all kind of be together, as well as the fact that the E3 demo that was shown was largely fake and just something to like look really cool, and sort of took away from time that they would have used to actually work on developing the game. A bit after the article was posted, Adam Badowski, who is the head of the studio for CDPR, quote tweeted it and said, hey, like, here are some thoughts on your article, and responded to a few of the lines, namely the idea of being wowed by fake demos, sort of responding and saying, hey, like, it's a trade show, like, this is going to be meant to be a vertical slice, that doesn't mean it's fake, so saying that it's not a fake thing. If you look, you can see a lot of those elements in the game. Saying that you talked to 20 people, so that is not the majority of the staff, because the staff is 500 people, so you saying that most of the staff knew it wouldn't be ready to release is incorrect, essentially. And then also locking in on something that Jason had brought up, which was the fact that they were supposed to only speak English when having like these like bigger meetings with the company, but sometimes people would speak Polish, and some of the other team felt ostracized by that. That definitely has been a point of contention from other people reading it, developers who are stating that like, hey, like you should be able to use your language like as you see fit when it's appropriate, and that's not necessarily an ostracizing thing. Jason has gone on to say that he sort of regrets the way that he framed that, and that he could have done a better job like parsing out what the actual issue was while being like more sensitive to respecting people's cultures. Of course, Jason then responded to him saying that like, hey, we reached out for comment and like you didn't have any comments. So that we see those kind of back and forths play out a lot on the internet, but I did want to point to that article as a sort of summation of a lot of the things that we've seen Cyberpunk-wise this week. Following up on some of last week's news in relation to Trump being banned from platforms, Trump is also banned from YouTube. The YouTube statement read as follows. After review and in light of concerns about the ongoing potential of violence, we removed new content uploaded to Donald J. Trump's channel for violating our policies. It now has its first strike and is temporarily prevented from uploading new content for a minimum of 7 days. They followed this up by saying, given the ongoing concerns about violence, we will also be indefinitely disabling comments on President Trump's channel, as we've done to other channels where there are safety concerns found in the comments section. So that's a little bit of more of the same. Trump has been banned from basically everything at this point, but again, because this is related to that content creation space, I thought it was worth noting here. I don't really have a lot to add to this besides good, and also late, good but late. Another continuation from a story we had last week is the PogChamp situation, in which, just to kind of summarize for those who missed last episode, you can go check that out. but Twitch is doing a new PogChamp emote every 24 hours. The person that was previously PogChamp, Gutierrez, was removed as PogChamp because of statements he said in relation to what happened at the Capitol and sort of inciting violence. So he's out, and they're like, what are we going to do to replace it? Okay, we'll just have like a different streamer highlighted, and it was meant to be this nice community thing of like, we're all PogChamp, and PogChamp's bigger than a person. It's like a Twitch thing, and it didn't go very well. Nathan Grayson over at Kotaku has Twitch's PogChamp removal was never enough, and now it's turning into a disaster. It's a really great report, and it goes really into the ways that this is an issue that cuts across so much more than just the gaming space, but also talks about the ways that it's not surprising that this didn't turn out well, having a different person each day, because most notably a queer black actor and vocalist named Critical Bard faced a deluge of harassment across Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook almost immediately after Twitch announced that he'd been selected. Again, this comes from Grayson over Kotaku. He then goes on to talk about the ways that a clip was taken from Critical Bard to make it look like he was like anti-white in a way that was problematic and not the way that it actually was, which was highlighting the fact that the idea of white lives mattering isn't a concept worth noting, because it's about like Black Lives Mattering and what that means and what that statement actually means. So his breakdown of that statement was like clipped out and misrepresented and kind of thrown around in like these darker circles of the internet to say, hey, this person's like, you know, a racial supremacist. Like the irony of that is just blows my mind. So he's got a lot of harassment for it, and it kind of highlights the ways that Twitch wants to be inclusive and uplift these voices, but doesn't necessarily have the tools in place or the systems in place to support in the way that support is needed. Just the existence of marginalized creators pisses people off, and they need to be prepared for that if they're going to be using different people. More on the Twitch side of things. Spanish Fortnite streamer TheGrefg breaks all-time Twitch viewership record. This comes from IGN's Matt Kim, who writes, Spanish Twitch streamer David TheGrefg Martinez just broke the Twitch record for concurrent viewers on an individual channel, with 2.4 million watching him reveal his skin collaboration with Fortnite. Martinez's stream, which topped off at over 2 million viewers, handily beat the previous record for concurrent viewers on an individual stream, set by Tyler Ninja Blevins in 2018 with 635,000 viewers. And as Kim writes in his article, it speaks to the globalness that is Twitch. Personally, I was unaware of this streamer as having a US perspective and a non-Fortnite perspective, but it does speak towards that global power that Twitch has and how many people are really creating on that platform in a really big way. There's a new edition of the Nintendo Switch, and no, it's not the Switch Pro. This is not the Switch Pro. It's not. It is a Mario red and blue edition of the system. It has a distinct red and blue color scheme in honor of Mario's iconic outfit and is available beginning February 12th. It's already up for pre-order in the UK, not yet in the US, so keep an eye out for that. It comes with a red and blue carrying case to help protect your system as you travel through warp pipes. There you go. And it's all red. Like, it's very red. The dock is red. The console itself is red. Everything is red except that back kickstand on the console, which is fairly upsetting. Don't know why that was the decision that was made. The Joy-Con grip, though, is blue, so it does look nice when you slide the Joy-Con into the Joy-Con grip, even though, admittedly, I'm personally out there using the Pro Controller. Fairly safe, and personally, I'm not that interested in it. I just don't think it pops enough. And Nintendo's not the only one feeling the red. Xbox is releasing their new Pulse Red controller, and it's exactly what you think. It's a really deep red, and on the back, it's white. That's pretty much it. That is the entirety of the controller. It is along the lines of the other controllers for the Series X that are out. You have a black, you have a white, you have a blue, and you have a red. Unfortunately, there's still no word on when the Design Labs thing will come back. We do know that it's planning to come back in 2021, but that is still under construction. So while this looks fine, I'm personally still waiting for Design Labs to come back if I'm going to get a custom controller or an extra controller. Super Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury got detailed with more information, including the online connectivity. Did you already buy it on Wii U? I know I did. I'm going to buy it again. It is what it is. Just accept it. So we got online play. We got local wireless play. You can play with up to 4 people. It looks pretty chaotic, as I do remember it being. I'm like looking at the footage now as I talk about this to remind myself how awesome and insane that gameplay is. They also showed a new snapshot mode in which you can basically just do photo mode. You can kind of tilt it around, add some filters. These are things that are like really baseline, but in Nintendo games, it's not that common, and it's only now becoming a little bit more normative. But what's more interesting here is Bowser's Fury, which is essentially like an additional game bundled in with this one. I'm not really sure why Bowser's Fury couldn't just be its own game. Maybe it's not long enough to warrant it, but it takes place in this cat kingdom, which I'm already sold on the cat kingdom element. I'm getting a lot of Super Mario Sunshine vibes from this with Bowser Jr. and his paintbrush. It supports 2-player gameplay, and your goal is to get enough cat shines to unlock this Giga Bell. And when you get that, you can become Giga Cat Mario, which is just like you're Mario, you're giant, you're a cat, you got Super Saiyan type hair, and you're fighting like this giant dark Bowser. So it's very much like a kaiju battle situation. It looks awesome. And again, this is available on February 12th. Pokemon is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and what better way to celebrate than with Katy Perry? I am also a little confused by this. So we don't have all the details on what this year of celebrating Pokemon looks like. We know there'll be merch. We can expect things like maybe there'll be events or like, there's some game stuff coming on. But mostly what we most know about right now is this music mashup situation. So this is from the Pokemon website directly, and it reads as follows. Of course, every party needs a great playlist, and to that end, Pokemon is teaming up with Universal Music Group and some of the biggest names in music to create a global music celebration dubbed P25 Music. Expect new songs from a wide range of musicians, featuring rising artists and award-winning superstars like pop icon Katy Perry. More details, including additional performer surprises, will be announced throughout the year. So let me know in the comments, on Twitter, or via email at gameonysus@gmail.com. What artists do you want on this Pokemon playlist? Like, what are you hoping for? Personally, I got my fingers crossed for Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters times Pokemon. Make it happen. Capcom announced a showcase for Resident Evil Village, and that's going to be happening on January 21st, 10 p.m. GMT / 11 p.m. CET. Keep an eye out for that. There is a sizzle reel trailer going around. So far, the biggest thing people have taken away from that is there is a tall, hot vampire lady. So there's that. That is literally the extent of it. It's people thirsting for this tall, hot vampire lady. Games are weird. From the rumor mill side of things, Final Fantasy VII trademarks, including Ever Crisis, may hint at new spin-offs. This comes from Nathan Birch over at WCCF Tech. Trademarks include Ever Crisis, The First Soldier, and a logo for the Shinra Electric Power Company. There's no real way of knowing what that actually means, whether or not it's going to be a compilation of Final Fantasy VII spin-off games, whether or not it's going to be a mobile game, or whether or not they're just securing it just to have it, so that they don't have to worry about getting it ever. But it's something. It's hope, Another one from the rumor mill comes from Games Radar, written by Hiran Cryer. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And it's Ghost of Tsushima sequel further hinted at in a new job listing. And it reads, as a job listing on Sucker Punch's website calls for a combat designer who has, quote, played Ghost of Tsushima and understands its core combat systems. Additionally, the role calls for an individual who can polish and balance enemies, player abilities, and progression systems, all of which were featured in Ghost of Tsushima when it launched last year. I love seeing these job listings. They are always like either a bit too cryptic or a bit too obvious. I think it is pretty clear that this is a role for a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, and I think it makes a lot of sense that they'd have a Ghost sequel. It was pretty critically acclaimed. A lot of people seem to like it, and they even had stuff like a Jin Funko Pop. So to me, it's very clear that they want to support this IP. Even last year, I felt that. So, and they had the DLC. The DLC, I think, was very popular as well. Like, people seem to like it. So to me, continuing this franchise seems inevitable, and I think this just points to the increasing likeliness of that. Some quick hits for delays. Super Nintendo World, we talked about that last week, how the website came out, and it was so exciting. Yeah, that is now delayed again. And it is again delayed for COVID reasons. This comes over from Richard Lawler at Engadget, and this delay is indefinite. So we'll have to see what happens when it's safe enough for that to be a thing again. Hogwarts Legacy is delayed to 2022, and here's their statement on Twitter. We would like to thank fans from around the world and the tremendous reaction to the announcement of Hogwarts Legacy from our Portkey Games label. Creating the best possible experience for all of the wizarding world and gaming fans is paramount to us, so we are giving the game the time it needs. Hogwarts Legacy will be released in 2022. And lastly, Riders Republic is delayed. They also issued a statement on Twitter saying, "Hey Riders, In September, we gave you a first look at our massive multiplayer playground in Riders Republic. We promised an action-packed outdoor sports park filled with all-out mass races with more than 50 fellow riders on next-gen consoles, a variety of diverse activities and insane stunts. We can't wait to have you traverse our vibrant world and live out your rider's fantasy. Today, we want to let you know that we have made the decision to move our release to later this year. This additional time will allow our passionate team to deliver the best fun-fueled experience to our players. Thank you for your support and understanding. Stay safe and get ready to join the madness of Riders Republic soon. So from these delays, I think Riders Republic, that seems pretty safe. A few months, I think they can probably hit that pretty easily because I feel like that delay isn't too dramatic. It's probably just a polishing situation. For Hogwarts Legacy, I have no confidence that game will come out in 2022 either. I feel like they were trying to do a lot. And for Super Nintendo World, I don't know. I'm thinking that will be delayed for a really long time. But we do have news in the way of game events, releases, and updates. Hitman 3 Cloud version will hit Switch on January 20th. There's a new Pokemon Snap, and it actually has a release date, which is wild. That's coming out on April 30th. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has a brand new next-gen patch for PS5 and Series X that is out now. Super Mario Bros. 35, which is the Mario Battle Royale game, has a wild event that's about to go on in which they want players to defeat 3.5 million Bowsers. This comes from Matt Wales over at Eurogamer. This is the first of 3 world count challenges they're going to have for this game. And it'll run from 7 a.m. in the UK on January 19th until 6:59 a.m. on January 26th. Also from Matt Wales over at Eurogamer, Dead Cell's second paid expansion, Fatal Falls, has a release date and it is January 26th. And Team 17's Moving Out is getting a free update where you will be moving in. I personally did not care for that game at all, but if you like it, that's more content. Onto our For the Free section, there is a Little Nightmares 2 demo out now on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, and the original game is also being offered for free on Steam right now. So a lot of ways to get into that IP if you're trying to prepare for Little Nightmares 2. I played the first one, and to me, it's definitely a good game. Like, the puzzles are very solid, it's really creepy. It didn't really stand out to me as anything super special, but I am interested in seeing this next one. Onto the Shut Up and Take My Money category, we have a Lego Botanical Garden. This is over from the folks at the Nerdist, highlighting this gorgeous botanical set from Lego. And I just need y'all to look this up. If you're watching it on YouTube, you can already see it now. It is so beautiful and delicate and intricate and lovely. I feel like the set runs about $50, so it's a little bit on the pricier side. Not really with Lego, because Lego can be really expensive, but it looks awesome. I really want this thing. Nintendo has the goal to do another one of these pin drops, the 35th Mario anniversary pins. They're trying that again. I tried and failed last time. I don't even know if there was any left at the time of me recording this because I refused to try to get them. But they want you to purchase Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury and complete 14 additional Mario themed mission to be eligible to get the pin. Just sell me the pin. Just let me buy the pin. Just take the money. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I guess this isn't even a shut up and take my money because they won't take the money. It costs a little bit to ship, but mostly it's just a challenge that you can't accomplish. So that's that. Razer's Project Hazel unveils face masks, but for gamers. So that's kind of a lot. That's a lot to take in. But it actually has a lot of useful features. So it's not all just RGB lights, which it does have RGB lights because it is a gaming face mask, essentially. But it has really cool stuff like optimized airflow, an obtrusive airtight seal, a voice amp technology. It's kind of see-through, so if you are hard of hearing or deaf, you can still read lips because you'll be able to see people's mouths moving. It even has auto sterilization functionality in which it comes with a special charging case lined with a UV light to kind of kill the bacteria inside of it. So it's got a lot going on. It's meant to be a smart face mask. It doesn't seem like it's for sale yet. Not sure how much it's going to cost, but that's what they've unveiled. Colourpop is always coming strong with those makeup collabs, and they've done it again. They have an Animal Crossing New Horizons makeup set. And please look at this. It's so pretty. Their palettes look so good. I need this. It's probably very expensive, but I really need this. It launches on Thursday, January 28th at 10 a.m. PST. You can go onto their site and be notified for when the stuff is live. It does sell out very fast, so if you are interested in this and have never done these, you really do have to be there and ready to go. It is an intense drop. I was there when they did the Sailor Moon collab. It was a lot. I still didn't get everything from that collab. I just got a few of the items because I just was not able to buy them. Fortunately, restocks do happen, so even if you do miss it, stick around, you might be able to come up on a restock, maybe not for the entire set, but usually like a good amount of it. And that's it for this week's episode. Thank y'all so much for listening along. Thank you for everyone who supports on Patreon. You too can support on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Gameonysus. And you can also just follow me on all social media. My handle is Gameonysus across the board. This should now be on all podcasting services, so be sure to follow along, subscribe, rate wherever you listen, and I'll see you next week.